Welcome, everyone. Thank you for joining us this morning. There'll be an active live chat, and we encourage everyone to share questions so we can address those during our discussion today. We are honored to have former Macon-Bibb County Mayor Reichert here with us today to participate in the discussion. After House Bill 57 was passed, which allowed for the private sale of electricity, the city of Macon-Bibb was actually the very first Cherry Street project and the first solar project in the state of Georgia. This was recently reported by Maria Saporta in her publication just yesterday.
I'm delighted to be here, Michele. Thank you very much. And I hope I can answer questions that some people may have about how to participate in a cost saving that's beneficial to you. And
Cherry Street's why is to make it a better place, to change the world. And we started a power company to sell electricity because the law changed and we knew that the opportunity would be there. And I was fortunate enough. Our families have known each other for over 100 years. As my father would say to me, that's 5 generations, 100 years. That's my grandchildren's grandchildren. And it goes the same the other way. And so I was privileged enough. Dad would say I was born on third base. It just wasn't me that hit the triple. And I was able to call the mayor of my hometown in October of 2015. And I said, can I come see you about a business idea? And I was working at a bank and had written up a business plan. Mm-hmm. And he said, of course, come on, sit down with my green team. And so in December of 2015, Amanda, my wife, had commissioned, this was the cover of the presentation. It said, imagine Macon as if all of the buildings that we know so well, City Hall, the Sheriff's Office, incorporate renewable power, make it seamless, make it simple, make it look nice. And so we sat down with Mayor Reichert and his green team, a gentleman called Sam Kitchens, who at the time was the head of Parks and Beautifications. And ultimately, the 2018 Georgia Solar Energy Advocate of the Year award recipient, but a wonderful and long-time partner. And we rolled out what was this business plan, this idea that we could, for no capital expense to the city, in a time of budget constraint, because consolidation was coming to Macon-Bibb. There was a lot of considerations of how do we continue to improve. So at no capital expense, we could save operating cost with competitively priced electricity.
Right, and I'll chip in right there, if I may, Michael. I had the benefit, for those of you who may be watching now, I had the benefit, as Michael just pointed out, of knowing Michael and generations before. We were talking at dinner last night and reminding that great-grandparents lived across the street from my mother and father. So interestingly enough, I knew Michael, and I knew he was good folks, as we like to say in Macon. And one of the things, if you're in a position with local government, or even if you're not in the local government, you want to do business with good folks. I learned that lesson a long time ago, that a contract can be a half a page, or it can be 22 and a half pages. But really, the contract is best served when people of good faith, good folks on both sides, come into an agreement. So when Michael wanted to come and talk to me, sure, absolutely, because if there's a mayor on the line, or if there's a county commission chairman on the line, or a commissioner on the line watching today, everybody wants to be your friend, and everybody wants to sell you something. So you have to kind of pick and choose. But I knew Michael, and I knew, yeah, sure, what is that going to hurt? I would love that. And the problem that Michael faces, and that Cherry Street Energy faces, is that what they pitch to you sounds too good to be true. Your question is going to be, what am I missing here? There must be some hidden trap. I got to be missing something. This is just too good to be true. But I'm here to tell you, it is true, and you can have it too, at no upfront cost and a savings to your community. Plus, you're sending the right message to the community about concern for the environment and concern for what's going on. So it's a win-win-win situation, and I hope we can answer questions and tell you a little bit more about that. But to get back, yeah, I knew I was dealing with good folks, and so will you. You're dealing with good folks, and they're native folks. These are not foreigners from New York or Chicago or Illinois. These are Georgia residents that have been here for generations, and now they're generating power that they want to provide to you, so that you can use it in your business or in your government enterprise.
Thank you for it. I mean,
Can we go now?
it's just exciting, right? We cover the pieces and get right to it, which was fortunate in the meeting. I mean, truly 5 minutes into the first pitch that I ever gave, stopped and said, is this the thing? And it's really where we spend the majority of our time today. This combination, fortunate to have conversations like this with the community to get to engage and hear what we would call thought leadership. Because good news, bad news, we are the primary provider of this service in the state and really in the Southeast. Because of...
Michael.
Yes.
I don't think you're the primary. I think you're the only. And that speaks to the audience about procurement. Governments have procurement policies. You can't just go out and sign a contract with somebody because you like them. You got to go through procurement. You got to have, guess what? As long as you put out an RFP that says, I don't want to buy solar panels. I don't want to maintain solar panels. I want you to provide them and install them where I say to provide them. And then I'm only obligated to buy the electricity that the panels produce and that I use in my business.
It's right. And I said to you before, one of my talk tracks, that people have a vested interest in making things more complicated than they are. And what we actually install might not be complicated, but I will say, and it's a testament to a broad team that we have now, what we've stood up is complicated for a couple of reasons. One is capital formation. To get capital markets, banks and investors to put hundreds of millions of dollars into a technology, what we'd call an asset class they've not provided capital to before, that was new. Getting a bank that's a 150-year-old bank to give a loan to a business is something that took time, and now fortunately we've got great support. That makes it a limitation on others that can participate doing what we do. Getting the best-in-class technology and the human capital to install it our way, because everyone else, when we first started, we realized they didn't care about this technology coming together the same way that we did. And those are the pieces now that make it so that there really aren't others that are doing what we do in the market.
Well, being first out of the gate, Michael, gave you an advantage, no doubt about that. But if you're smart enough, perceptive enough to see the trend coming, take advantage of it, and then take the step out, you're leading the way for others. But it's harder now to do the same thing. And you've still got the best choice and the easiest choice for local governments to make.
It looks like we have a question that's coming through right now that folks have shared with us. It says, what was the first site and what were the challenges that y'all experienced?
Michael mentioned that in his introduction. We were talking initially about, and one of the things that I mentioned, he says it doesn't have to be huge. And that's a lesson for you. We're not talking about a 600-acre array. Michael says that they will entertain a postage stamp application, meaning over a small parking lot or on the rooftop of a small building. They will certainly look at what you want to do, and you can start small. You don't have to electrify the city. You can start small with a single building, a single parking lot. We started off, I think, talking about a Coliseum parking lot. Yeah. And also, there was a small parking deck on top of our emergency management agency building that we were looking at that had a capacity of about 20 cars. Yeah, we'll put one up there, just kind of thing. So, it didn't have to be big. But the first one, and the one we actually decided to do first, was a new canopy over a parking lot associated with the sheriff's downtown annex. I think they were on the little video that started us off today for those of you that were tuned in. So the sheriff was a little bit wary about this, but okay, you know, if you say so. So they go put this canopy over the parking lot. Well, not only did he get good electricity that he fed right into his building to offset power he was buying, his employees absolutely loved it, because rather than getting into a car at the end of the day that had been sitting out in the sun all day long, now they got covered parking. So if that's one of the options that you're considering, they'll talk you through that, as well as rooftop installations or on the ground if you've got available space on the ground behind the building. So you can do it any one of those ways that I'm familiar with. But the sheriff's downtown annex was our first.
That was the first.
That was the first project for us.
Shortly followed thereafter, across the street by the tax commissioner.
He didn't want the sheriff to have one up on it. Does that sound familiar?
It enjoyed having it. They said we'd like to have covered parking at our.
My employees said, "Why can't we have covered parking?"
We would love to benefit from that too.
It said they did, but that was the first.
And I'll do this too. If anybody wants to come to Macon, I'll be more than happy to arrange a tour for you so that you can see the first application, the second application, and then Recreation Center. Wait a minute, we got a brand new building coming up in South Bibb. And I think that was on the video too, the South Bibb Recreation Center, large building, flat roof. Perfect, we'll just put it right up there. So, yeah, I'd be happy to take you on a tour and show you around Macon and show you some of the installations that we've done. How many projects have we done now? You know better than I do, but it's about 12.
Yeah, it's a dozen. I think they're adding one more.
And we've got 4 more on the drawing board.
Absolutely. Ready to go. That we're excited to continue. Every customer that
We have has expanded the portfolio where they have it. We don't have an example of a customer that is not added after the first one. The question also asked if there were challenges, and there were in a couple of different ways. One is actually, as the mayor points out, we started looking at a different facility first. Let me back up a little bit further. This was the first RFP in the state to purchase electricity in this way. So it was working with a team, and Macon-Bibb had a wonderful team, facilities, procurement, finance, the city manager's office, to run a competitive bid process in which we were awarded as a respondent bidder.
But again, don't be surprised if you only get one bid. Because if you put it out with the right criteria, you don't want to buy solar energy panels. You want to buy electricity produced by solar panels, and you'll allow them to put the panels where you say on your property. So as long as you if you put out an RFP said we're looking for solar energy panels, you'll get flooded with responses, but then you're responsible for putting them up, for operating them, for maintaining them, for this, that, or the other, and for kind of interfacing with this. They take all of the difficulty of that out and away from you and just sell you electricity, just like Georgia Power does. You don't need to know whether it came from a nuclear plant or from a windmill or a coal-fired plant. All you know is when you flip the switch, it comes on. They do the same thing with the sun. You won't tell when it switches over. It's a smart switch, right?
That's it. And we only get paid if the system's working.
Yeah.
So from an alignment of incentives, the model that we set up, we always thought was advantageous for our customers, because we build systems to perform, and we only get compensated, we only get paid through a monthly electricity bill if we're producing that electricity.
And I know that some cities and counties have expressed apprehension or a concern with this technology because they're not familiar. Did you encounter that? And if so, how did y'all overcome that?
Well, speaking to them that are still sitting back saying, I don't know, you're not on the bleeding edge of technology out here. What you're buying into is projects that have been built or producing or living up true to form exactly what they do. And your total risk, there's no upfront cost. Your total risk is signing a contract for 20 years. And you say 20 years? Listen, you finance a car for 6 now, and your house mortgage is 30. Yes, it's a 20-year contract for you to buy the electricity that is produced by the panels on your property that you actually use. So if you and it's cheaper than it would be from your traditional, and projected to be ever more increasingly cheaper as we go forward and try to have more and more expense associated with nuclear plants, more and more expense with coal-fired plants and mitigation and this, that, or the other. Sun shines every day. Take advantage of it, folks.
The reliability of that's been such an amazing learning from us. I mean, your leadership in signing it first. The city of Atlanta came just after that. And then Athens, Clarke County, and then Savannah, and then Chatham, and then Clayton, and Fulton. And now Fulton again on 40 of their facilities. So Macon certainly was a leader, and that might have been on the edge, which we were fortunate to have trust in some of the learning.
That's right.
But now the reliability of the technology has been what's so impactful, I think, for our customers to see, because it gives budget certainty. The sun's going to shine, and we know exactly how much the sun's going to shine.
Great point. Because this 20-year contract, it's not an unlimited. It has incremental increases in the cost, but they're set out, and they're going to be less than the increases in cost you're going to experience with higher cost in traditional energy production facilities. So there's certainty in it. But please mention a little bit more about the jobs that this can create. I think that's a really important piece that we need to emphasize to you. If you've got high schoolers or young adults that are looking for something that can't be outsourced, that do things right here at home.
It's been this exciting thought when we can impact in each of the communities that we serve through the creation of careers. We got to tour this morning our solar school. This is a Shine On program that we started 7 years ago now, because we need skilled labor in each of these markets where we have these facilities to know the right way to do what we do, providing electricity from solar panels. We've created so far 250 careers through our solar school and our training programs. Some of the students at Georgia Tech and Emory worked together on a study that showed us for every 4 recreation centers, which for the energy jargon is about 1 megawatt, 4 recreation centers represent 25 careers in the industry. And we do these monthly cohorts of our solar school where we train. We work with crews in Savannah and in Athens and in Macon and in Atlanta to place young adults that were going through some forms of vocational training or reentry programs in the case of Savannah to create a career in renewable power, because this is local energy. I mean, by definition, it is on-site solar. We need the individuals in those communities to have the capability, because the built environment will incorporate renewable power on every structure that can support it. It is the right way to build our power system.
And as a result of that, many of the cities and counties now have sustainability programs and plans and initiatives and metrics to meet. And I know that you have the Go Green program. That was certainly a factor, I'm presuming, in deploying on-site solar. Can you talk on that a moment?
I can't take credit because Sam Hart, who was the chairman of the county commission prior to consolidation, launched this effort about going green. Believe it or not, I swear to you, I think that the Bibb County Courthouse put in a recharging station for electric vehicles out there on the curb before people even knew what they were. So they've been into electric vehicles and alternative sources of energy, procurement, going green, recycling, composting, all kind of different projects. And yes, Sam Kitchens was doing a marvelous job, but he did have the support of the county commission in doing the things that were smart and doing the things that were good for the community, and had a lot of public support behind it. So yes, it made us look good, and Sam Kitchens did a wonderful job. In fact, he got so enthusiastic about it, he ran for and was elected to the county commission in Jones County. So now we have to call him Mr. Commissioner. Because he lives in Jones County, which is immediately adjacent to Macon-Bibb. So he would drive into work and go home and be part of the government.
It's been this opportunity. Now, as he also, in addition to his commission, works with the school board of Bibb County now, and some of the vocational schools where we're working with Sam on those training programs, because we continue to need to train for these careers, create workforce, which the Economic Development Authority tells us that the most career growth is coming in this sector. And as part of this workforce development, it's really collaboration with the communities, because cities and counties and large organizations have more buildings than any other entities in each of these communities. And that was part of the Chanin program. We need that collaborative approach to train, to have those people there to then serve in these communities.
And let me mention one more individual that was so important in the process in Macon-Bibb County, and that was Rob Riles.
Absolutely.
Rob Riles was the head of our maintenance, facilities and maintenance department.
Yeah.
And he bought into this big time. I mean, he really has been a real champion of it. And he would be the first one to tell you, be glad to introduce him to you when you come to Macon. He would be the first one to tell you, we hadn't had a problem. We haven't had a problem. Well, no, it's just, no, we don't. Once they get it set up, we haven't had a problem. No roof leaks, no this, no that, no the other. Just switch on power and use solar energy. So
he's been incredible by it.
And Michael, can you tell us a little bit about the beginning of the process when Cherry Street starts to work with a city or county, how that unfolds?
Absolutely. And Rob Riles is a wonderful person to hold up in this, because a lot of that process was developed. And he taught us, he was so kind to us in teaching us how a county which really thinks as protectively as any organization does about their facilities. And to tell a facility manager, I would like to send crews on every one of your rooftops to put equipment is not a really welcome Tuesday morning. And we were fortunate to have executive leadership say, guys, help us think about how we should do this. But it's really part of that alignment, the partnership that we have with each of our customers to go back and get all of the electrical and the structural drawings, to work with the engineers, both the county engineers and Cherry Street has engineers as well, to come and evaluate those roof systems to make sure that they can support this. We then get all of the structural stamps and the letters.
And by the way, let me mention one other thing too, Michael. When we started the process and came in, not only did we have to kind of get the city's buy-in, which we were, okay, you sure about this? You sure it's not too good to be true? And it really is. Yeah, okay. So once we get on board with it, then you got to get, in our case, our primary energy provider was Georgia Power. Well, you may be worried about, what are they going to think if we start putting this over? What are they going? Are they going to go up on our rates? Or are they going to do this, that, or the other to try to punish us for doing this? Let me tell you one thing that I think you really need to know, and you can confirm this. Georgia Power is at the point now where, because of the electrification of the state and the demand for electricity, that they are having increasing difficulty in meeting. Now they welcome things like solar energy that help offset the load and shave the peak, I think is their terminology, especially during the heat of the day when people are dialing the air conditioning down. I'm suffering here. That's when the sun's shining brightest. That's what makes sense to Georgia Power. We don't have to build a new power plant, and we don't have to build this out of the other. We can just encourage and work with, and now I think they are pretty much of a willing partner with you. And I think that the electric membership, EMCs, follow the same example, do they not?
Absolutely, and it has been. We work hard to be a great partner to utilities wherever we are, and we do so in a way, and it's one of the things that differentiates us. It means that we really stand alone in operating as a vertically integrated power company.
Yes.
When we talk about being vertically integrated, it means from the very first conversation when we sat down at your table through our whole operations and maintenance crews that maintain the systems that now went from an idea in this drawing to on all the buildings across Macon. That is a Cherry Street employee in a Cherry Street process that owns and operates. We design, we install. It is our site supervisor on every building as we're building the projects. And that connectivity really aligns well with our utility partners who are similarly vertically integrated. And so we can work with them across a multitude of steps to make sure that we're doing it in a way, you said win, win, win before. And one of the groups that needs to have a win for this to be successful are our utility partners. Because the grid is the backbone of our infrastructure. Energy, electricity is a right, and we need everyone to have reliable and affordable access to it. And Cherry Street is a partner with our utilities to make sure that we can maintain that because of this electrification of everything.
And maybe it's a good time to talk too about just the pressure that we have on our grid and how we're a piece of that pie and solution moving forward.
For us, we know that we need to continue adding meaningful capacity because of the economic development in the state. Leaders like Mayor Reichert have made the communities in Georgia some of the finest to live in the world. And so the state of Georgia, the metro Atlanta region, has attracted an enormous amount of manufacturing. The auto manufacturers, battery manufacturers, the largest solar panel manufacturer in the Western Hemisphere. That's a lot of new load is the jargon the industry would use. A lot of electricity consumption. People need more power.
Data centers.
Data centers are an enormous addition. And so we need more capacity. And by far the fastest way to get reliable and affordable electricity production online is rooftop by rooftop, having solar panels built. Because if we tried to start building a gas plant today, it would be 6 years before we get it online. And so we're planning as a state to do that. Concurrently, we need to plan for a lot of other things to go.
And we touched on the Chanin program, but a participant just asked for a little bit more elaboration about that. How do we identify talent in the community to support economic development and training in our solar school? Could we share a little more about that?
Yeah, of course. A couple of maybe partners that I can highlight that have been fantastic in enabling us to build out our solar school and create these careers, as we would say, from blue collar to new collar. Our solar school is a 10-week program where graduates finish with a certification from the acronym is NABCEP, the North American Board of Certified Energy Practitioners.
That's impressive.
Just rolled off the tongue.
That's a lot of letters you can put behind your name.
Well, we will tell you, all of them that are there. And we recently, this past year, had the incredible fortune of partnering with an organization called Ensoro, N-S-O-R-O. The Ensoro Foundation supports young adults aging out of the state's foster program, and they create opportunities both to go to college, post-secondary, and importantly now through Ensoro Works, they help some of these young adults find careers. And so we've helped several. In fact, just this past week, I know 3 Ensoro scholars got placed into careers in renewable power. 2 of them in an installation capacity, 1 of them in a marketing capacity, and last week another one that was in a procurement role. But there are a multitude of career tracks. Most that go through these tracks end up starting their career as an installer. From an installer, they become a foreman, and from a foreman, a site supervisor. But these are competitively, well above what the state would require, even what some in the state call a livable wage. These wages somewhere from $20 to $35 an hour at a start, and even in the 10-week training program, these careers are working, so they're paid out of the gate. The other will start in the next month, a cohort with the City of Refuge, which is an Atlanta-based nonprofit, where we will similarly have a solar school. There'll be a dozen participants that will come through the training program. And then at the end of the training program, we work with our partners. These are installers in the communities where we build that have partnered with us. In Savannah, a woman called Nicole Lee with Be Smart Home Solutions. In Atlanta, a gentleman called Abiduni Martin with Do Everything Wonderfully. Has just hired in the last 3 weeks a woman to work on his crew, and I visited them yesterday on a Fulton County library, the Roswell Library, where his crews are installing, and we have been creating careers across the state. It's been an exciting opportunity for us to train and find great organizations in the communities that we serve that help both with finding the talent as well as some of the soft services that wrap around to make sure that we can find success in these programs.
Another question that we have from the audience is, does the power from the panels go back onto the grid?
No.
No, that's a great point, and I'm glad somebody thought about that. No, you use it. You use it in your building, and you say, well, wait a minute. What if I produce more energy than I use? What happens to it? They design the array typically to provide about 30% of the total load. So you're not going to be selling this solar energy back onto the grid. You're going to be using it. Therefore, you pay only for what you produce and you use. Is that right?
Absolutely. It's our sense for why. There's the right way to build the system is based off of what's consumed. And in time with these systems, we will increase that footprint. We will capture more electricity from the sun. And when it becomes cost efficient for our customers, we'll likely do things like add batteries, and those become resiliency hubs, or they're great opportunities to expand as the technology continues to evolve.
And back to the beginning of a project, how do we identify the first location or the first site?
So we've built these exciting tools. We were spending time with our data team earlier today, most often using Georgia Power as an example. One electricity bill is all we need. We work in collaboration with our utility partners. Georgia Power allows us an opportunity to hit their data. We can pull the hourly interval data. We look at a facility's hourly consumption with one bill from each meter. We can in seconds look at hundreds of facilities and say, these are your top 10. Let's start here. This is the best impact from how much we can save, the lowest impact to your facility, and the way for us to get started the fastest. And so that process for us is something we've worked hard to simplify for our customers.
Right, and I think that also kind of takes into account the shape of the roof, the size of the roof, the slope of the roof, or whether a different over a parking lot or on the ground, a ground array. They'll find something, and I love Michael's. It can be as small as a postage stamp. It doesn't have to be huge. Doesn't have to take up acres of space or this side or the other. It can be on the right kind of rooftop, facing the right direction to maximize the energy from the sun. And they'll do all that research with you, not for you. They'll do it with you and try to help you figure out which one is the right one for you.
And in order to start that process, they need to sign an agreement. We would need you to authorize that agreement. And some folks might not be familiar with the SEPA specifically here in Georgia. Perhaps we could define that for everybody.
A power purchase agreement, essentially in every other state in the country, in Georgia, is called a Solar Energy Procurement Agreement. And a power purchase agreement is a contract that really came from oil and gas industries. An engineer would look in the ground and say, you have this much oil in the ground, I'll sign an agreement to buy that power over however much time they've got oil in the ground. The solar industry used that same contractual construct to say, can we sign an agreement? We know this technology will produce this much power. Will you purchase this power from us at a fixed price? And that is exactly what a solar energy procurement agreement does. It creates a contractual framework for Macon-Bibb County to purchase power from Cherry Street Energy's solar technology at a fixed price over that contract period of time. And that's structurally what happens.
And oftentimes there's a term called piggybacking where other counties can take advantage. Can you elaborate on that? That might be.
I can answer electricity. When I get to municipal procurement, I am overshadowed by your knowledge.
Piggybacking, as I understand it, Michele, is when you can take advantage of another existing contract or source and you can just piggyback on top of that. To my knowledge, there's no such opportunity here for piggybacking. This is because there's only one provider that's doing what they do, which again is not selling you the panels. They're selling you the electricity produced by the solar panels. They maintain the panels. They replace them if they need to be replaced because it's in their best interest to replace them if they're declining and put them back in there, so that produces more energy that they can provide for you to use in your building. So I don't think piggybacking is available. That's my knee-jerk reaction, but an attorney smarter than I am may be able to figure out a way, but I don't think it's got an application simply because there is no outside contract for this. The state doesn't do it yet, do they?
We don't have examples yet. We've been fortunate to know that they can and working with the different attorneys. But it's the path to procurement. You know, it's interesting that the contractual side of this, I would have been wrong a decade ago to fully appreciate that going through that is really where we spend the vast majority of our time with our customers. The installation takes weeks without disruption. I mean, it is the most simple. People have a vested interest in making things more complicated than they are. A solar panel is a 70-pound piece of glass, which we lay on a rooftop and we hold it down with a cinder block on a plastic tray. We ensure the roof warranty is in place before we get on the roof, that it's in place off the roof, and we do not penetrate the roof. Load ballast for a kid from Macon, Georgia just means you lay something on top of it and you weight it down. And that's all we do. We care deeply about how well that is done, but doing that is very quick. It really is not disruptive. There is one day where we have to take some form of a power outage. It can be in the middle of the night at the facility because we physically plug in to the main distribution panel. And as you say, it's a smart switch, which really just means our electrons flow first.
And in the example of Macon-Bibb County and that very first process from the initial conversation to the electrification of that first facility, how long was that process?
Months. The lawyers had to figure it out, this, that, or the other, but all that's groundwork now that you can take advantage of. You don't have to reinvent the wheel, so to speak.
Months, but he was one of the more productive mayors in Georgia history because our first meeting was in December of 15, and the first solar energy procurement agreement in the state was signed by him in August of 16. So from the very first meeting, we went to RFP then in February. It was awarded in April, and we signed it in August. And so it was a process with purpose.
And an additional question that just came in was, does Cherry Street only work with cities and counties?
No, they were our first, but they are by no means our only. Delta Airlines, Gulfstream Aerospace, Porsche Cars North America, breweries in Athens, Terrapin and Creature Comforts have been incredible advocates on our behalf. Solar brewed beer we made. The Sunnyside IPA. It's been exciting. The first low-income housing on the Beltline called Adair Court, or Pittsburgh Yards with the Annie E. Casey Foundation. So nonprofits, schools like my alma mater and my wife's alma mater are incorporating renewable power. It's been exciting. Emory University across their campus. So municipalities, universities, schools, hospital networks, and corporate and industrial clients.
So if you've got any of your constituents that say that government ought to run more like a business, well, follow the example of these businesses that are incorporating solar energy and reducing their cost, which I think that a lot of people may be interested in. Is your electricity going to cost more than what I'm paying now? The answer to that is no, unless you choose an installation that costs so much to do. It may make it less competitive, but it's going to still be competitive. And if you do it the way that they're talking about, that they're usually used to doing it, it'll save you money on your energy bill.
That's a great lead in to we might have to switch seats. That was a great lead in to my next question. People are interested in how the energy is actually priced.
Of course.
With our model. So maybe we could share, because we have a very transparent process.
10% cash on cash yield, which means if it costs us $1 million to build, and we share our numbers, if it costs us $1 million to build, it will generate us $100,000 of revenue a year for the 20-year contract. And that's it. And so the mayor's point is well taken. Porsche Cars North America has a beautiful facility and a magnificently engineered walkway. That was very expensive. That electron cost a little bit more. Now, interestingly, because their campus is so big, some of that was actually absorbed so that we did rooftop solar, and their average price still actually saves them money, and they got the benefit of this incredible array. But those electrons are slightly more expensive. But generally speaking, when we do a rooftop solar array, based off of the math, for us to hit that return threshold, 10% payback for easy math would be the 10 years for what that looks like for us. No cost for our customers. And generally, frankly, customers aren't interested in investing capital in something with that type of return profile. But for us, we're building a 100-year business, so that type of return profile makes quite a lot of sense.
And you mentioned a few of the arrays, but maybe not all of them. Ground mount, just to explore.
Of course. The Macon-Bibb's Animal Welfare Center
ground mount
is a ground-mounted system because apparently there are not a lot of other buildings that want to be where they keep a lot of dogs that bark a lot. So there was available land next to it. And there's a lot of places where there's available land. We're working with a manufacturer outside of Savannah that has available land adjacent to their property. We're working with another large glass manufacturer in Valdosta, Georgia, and it'll be quite a large ground mount. I mean, that'll be some 20 acres of land. So it's an exciting opportunity for us to evaluate, and that's how we work with our customers. I mean, generally, we work closely with them to evaluate the properties, find the ones that are best suited, and then coming up with a program, because it's a long-term relationship. We're building 20 or 30-year relationships with our customers. It's a very long-term view of how we plan for that.
And we touched on the roofs, but there was another question specifically from a facility manager, like what about the roof warranty and the integrity of the roof? And if it was greater or less than 10 years old, how would we evaluate that and decide to move forward?
Our goal is to go, please.
No, go ahead. Then I'll add to it. It's a great story.
Our goal is to align with our customers based off of their roof replacement cycle or schedule or long-term plan. Emory, for example, has a 25-year capital projects plan. When there's new construction, it is the best time to put it on. When there is a re-roof, it's the best time to put it on. Generally, if there's less than 10 years of life left on a roof, we'd rather just wait for our customer to replace that. But we ensure that a roof warranty is in place if there is a roof warranty for our customer before getting on. And then we work with that provider to ensure our design will maintain that warranty. And then when we finish the installation, we document and make sure that the roof warranty is still in place. Oftentimes, actually, in some instances, like the city of Savannah, for example, had re-roofing projects that they would like to have done, and we functionally capitalized that. Cherry Street actually paid for it and just rolled that in. Again, our pricing model is so transparent that they could see and say, hey, we actually could roll in the cost of a re-roofing because budgeting for them was challenging for finding where that was, and we still would be below what otherwise we would have paid for the electricity. But we work very closely with facility managers to get that information on the roof edge, and
insurance and bonding and permitting all on Cherry
all
Street.
those steps. And that's stuff that we coordinate. Absolutely.
Okay. Any closing thoughts from either of you about your experience and success thus far?
I'll lead off, Michele, and just say this to those that may be watching and thinking about this. Make the call. Isn't that what the attorney says? Just make the call.
One call does it all.
Yeah, that, and I'm in the shower. They will be responsive and come to you and explain this and look with you, but you've got to take the first step and call. They'll explain the process. You tell them what your procurement requires you to do, and look at the RFPs that have been done by other communities. You're not reinventing the wheel, but you've got to be the one to make the call.
Thank you.
I was asking for advice as we were riding in this morning, unrelated. If I can sum it up, the advice I got from Mayor Reichert was that leaders lead. And he did in our community for over a decade. And it was one of the great fortunes of my professional career that I could go and sit down with someone that said leaders lead. And he said, well, let's just do it and let's show. And there was a bias for action, which I think all of us need to take. And having an opportunity to lead as we do, as Cherry Street has, and having the confidence and conviction to say that we trust in each other and know that we're going to do the right thing. Because it's not perfect. I mean, there were any number of things we learned along the way, but we had open communication, we had trust, and a willingness to lead. And now 10 years in, it's been exciting to get to share in that journey and know that we led and see the impact of what that meant.
And in closing, what would you say are the next steps of collaboration between Cherry Street and Macon-Bibb County?
I trust that the mayor now continues to be an advocate for solar energy and to look at other buildings that have the possibility or other locations that have the possibility for this application. And I think that there are 4 projects that are under consideration now that I hope will soon be ready to flip the switch and turn on the solar power lights.
I think that's right. Rob Riles continues to be a champion for us.
He does.
And a reference point of follow-up. If there's someone that wants to have an unvarnished view of how it's gone from the very beginning, Rob Riles in Macon, Georgia, has done some incredible work and is a wonderful teacher to others and has been a reference, frankly, for both businesses and for nonprofits and for municipalities.
And I think, in addition to my invitation to come to Macon and let me show you around, I'd be willing to bet you Rob Riles would be a willing participant, and because he's proud of what he's done.
Yeah.
I'm proud of what we did, and you'll be proud of what you do. It works. Is it too good to be true? Sounds like it, but it's not. It is true. It will provide electricity, solar powered electricity, when you don't even know it. But it'll shave your energy bill. It'll help the Georgia Power folks shave their peak load problems that they're having. And you'll look back on this as a good moment in time to go shine on.
Well, thank you both for joining us. For more information, you can visit cherrystreet.com. Just so grateful for your time here and your support of us. Very appreciative. And thank you all for joining.
Thanks so much.
Enjoyed it.